Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome back to F0X. Last time we actually started off with experts, and this time around, because of still being early cups, I'd actually like to try to do 2 of them in one episode again. It's been a while, but after the Jack Cup last time being the only one we did, this time I'd like to try to do the Queen and King Cup, both of them in this episode. So, if you don't mind me, I'm not going to waste too much time and get started immediately. And don't forget, we actually got ourselves a new line of racers, finally! This time around it actually took a while, but after getting enough crosses in the regular game, yes, only the crosses in the regular game actually count, we can finally select 2 people from 6 new racers. And I will start off with the Little Wyvern. A very big Star Fox reference here in F0X. The guy is called James McCloud and is basically a human version of Fox McCloud. Even named after his father directly. And even the machine, the Little Wyvern, even though that is named after a Western dragon, it is actually modeled after an R-Wing, as you can clearly see. And even this guy's story is basically the same. He's also a mercenary, just like Fox McCloud. And the team he's actually part of is called Galaxy Dog, which is also a reference to Star Fox. Not Star, but Galaxy, and not a fox, but a dog. But pretty much the same job as Fox McCloud, just in human form. A very obvious Star Fox reference. And speaking of stars, let's see if we can actually get a few. Although I also think I need to watch out on a track like this, because Sector Alpha is I think the only track that can give me trouble on expert difficulty. This one is comparable to Silence from the Jack Cup. Therefore saying pretty much the only track I sometimes lose if I'm not too careful. So I think I'll just play this one seriously. Trying to get stars is fun and everything. But on this difficulty you can't always permit yourself doing that if you also would like to win the race. Here's my rubber band rifle, both of them. Billy on the skull, looks like. Billy only being the rubber band rifle because of his starting number, I think. He's number 11. The Little Wyvern is number 10. Here we go, here's the leader. So, unlike Silence, I'm not going to lose this time around. Boost our way to the finish line. And it is mission accomplished. Hey, if we're referencing Star Fox, then we need to do it the proper way. I'll try to withhold on the barrel roll references, but still. Every once in a while doing a little bit of Star Fox reference does not hurt anyone. It's this guy's job to reference Star Fox after all, so might as well cooperate. Let's go see if Red Canyon can actually be somewhat of a challenge. I highly doubt it. Come on. Stop asking me to kill you. It is interesting though, that's something I've actually noticed a while back. But whenever the Mad Wolf, Billy, number 11, whenever he starts jumping, he always starts spin attacking immediately. He always does that, even on novice difficulty. I never understood why. But in the whole game, Mad Wolf is actually the only machine that always starts spinning the moment he jumps. If somebody knows why he does that and why he's the only one who does that, then please tell me, because I wonder. It's definitely weird. Okay, there's 5 seconds ahead of these people. Yeah, even on expert, my jumping skills cannot be matched by the computer players. The difference becomes bigger and bigger. Poor guys. And there we go. Pretty awesome machine, the Little Wyverns. Stat-wise, it is a pretty solid machine. The only downside is the fact that it's an E-body machine. It breaks quickly, but it compensates that by having a good booster. And also, pretty good stability. Let's move on. Devil's Forest 2. It seems my rubber band rifles were nowhere to be found in the previous race because they're not in the top 6. There's also something of interest I could talk about. Now I want you dead, Billy, because you've been annoying me for way too long. Let's make sure not to attack people while we're jumping. That does not really work out too well. But anyway, let's try to return to that story. But you've noticed there are always rubber band rivals in this game. Two set rivals that always try to keep up with you. No matter how fast or how slow you are going, they always try to match your skill level. But that's not the only rubber band that's present in this game. The rest of the computer players also have a form of rubber banding, and that one actually mostly applies to whenever you're very far ahead of people. Also the whole reason why I've been exploiting the death track situations a lot in this game. That actually abuses the rubber banding of the rest of the computer players. If you're too far ahead of them, computer players always try to actually keep up with you in order to keep the race interesting, you might say. And that second form of rubber banding can sometimes even outclass the first rubber banding of your set rivals. And that is the reason why in Red Canyon just now, my rubber band rivals actually didn't appear in second and third place. I was so far ahead of the pack that the rest of the computer players were already rubber banding me, and therefore my set rivals weren't able to match that, and they couldn't actually keep up with them. And whenever that happens, they actually don't appear next to you. That's also a pretty fun aspect that sometimes applies in this game. Also something I could quickly talk about. See, even here in part 14, we're going through the game for the third time already on expert mode, and there's still new things to actually talk about. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects in this game. It definitely is. It's the whole reason why we love this game so much. It's not just a racing game. It is a racing game with a lot of depth and layers. Ouch, by the way. And that is what happens if you miss your rifles. Then you get hurt yourself. Let's try to kill some people here. Michael Chain had the same idea. He also started attacking. Bye, guys. Oh, I can never resist. I see a rifle car with an E-body, so it's also asking for trouble. But I'd actually also like to gain up on you people. Just jump. No, careful not to get squished. Go away, arrow. You're also asking for trouble now. Don't become a second Billy. But I think I need to start playing seriously now. Playing around with you people is fun and everything. First place is also something I'd like to see. Boost their way to the finish. There's no way these guys can keep up with me. There we are. Was still able to play around with computer players a little bit, but all with all a pretty clean race. It's also a pretty easy track after all. Only 2 more to go, and then we can move on to the King Cup. I'd like to do this fast if it isn't obvious. One of my final chances in this game to actually combine 2 cups into 1 episode, so I definitely want to try to make use of it. Big Blue 2, luckily a pretty short track. It'll also be done with quickly. Come on! The arrows don't seem to like me that much today. But I survived, so let's move on. We luckily also didn't retire yet. It's also a time waster, of course. Oh, speaking of retiring, you can also see the higher the difficulty becomes, the less number of extra lives you get. When I started playing on Novice, I had 5 extra lives to start with at the start of a Grand Prix. On Standard it was actually 4, and now, as you can see, it's only 3. So the higher the difficulty becomes, the less number of extra lives you actually get. So that also makes it a little bit more difficult. You need less retirements in order to game over. However, I'm not going to do it a single time. A cup like the Queen Cup, which is peanuts for someone like me with my experience. I doubt I will ever retire on this. Even with an E-body machine. Driven by Fox's father, who's suddenly human. Oh, poor Fox. Getting referenced by a silly human. 1 more track to go. Whiteland, Dangerous Steps. One of my favorite tracks to do, actually. Mostly because of that final part. I really love the jumping sequence there. Especially in the final lap where you can go all out. Don't have to care about the pit area. Ooh, awesome double kill. I was actually going for only one, but apparently I hit two. Oh, you go away. This is very tempting. Hi guys. Two people fell from both sides. Awesome. Okay, now let's use the jumps in order to back up some speed. Catch up with these people again. Oh, come on, Black Shadow. Ruined my final jump. Stay away from the death anchor. Let's start boosting from here. Usually I do it after the tunnel. Because in the tunnel itself there's a little bit too many turns. And there's also too many wreckages on the track, it seems. Wasted boost. Yeah, getting hit with an E-body machine that usually costs you one entire boost. Bye, Miss Zero. Not too sure how you were able to actually fall off there, but I have a hunch. It's probably one of the computer players who started spin attacking there. And I think she got hit. That's usually what happens. At a narrow section like that, you usually end up falling off. But anyway, let's just go. Jump, jump, boost, jump over that section, into the wall, and finish in first place still. And who do we have here? The camera zooms out in order to shoot my finish, but I turned into a wreckage. And with the zooming out of the camera, we get in view another wreckage. Oh, I'm such a badass when it comes to wrecking people. But anyway, here we are. Queen Cup expert also taken care of quickly. Took me 12 minutes, not too bad. And therefore saying we can indeed also input the King Cup in this episode. Probably the final episode where we do 2 cups in one video. Might as well make use of that chance. Sector Alpha, Red Canyon, Devil's Forest 2. All pretty nice. Mute City 2. Big Blue 2. And the first White Land. All first place. Not a problem. In that sense you can actually say that the Queen Cup is easier than the Jack Cup. Because there I was not able to win all the tracks. Interesting how that works. But like I explained during the Jack Cup episode, that's mostly because of the skill level required for these more difficult tracks. For that reason I'm actually able to exploit the computer's weaknesses a little bit more in the later cups, making them a little bit easier. It should be the other way around, but unfortunately in this game it's actually how it works. But there's still more chances, of course. Let's first listen to James. I drive like a sly fox. Well, not just like a sly fox, just like a regular fox. You can disguise yourself as a human, but I know it's you, fox. Driving in your little R-Wing, named after a dragon for some reason. But anyway, like I said, let's not waste any time. 13 minutes have passed while we were busy looking at this victory screen. So let's move on to the next racer. Obviously also going to be one of these guys. And this time we're going to go for supermodel Kate Allen. In a similar way to Jack Levin, Kate Allen is actually also a superstar. Singer, but also supermodel. And in the same way, like Jack, she also wants to have more fame apparently. So she's driving the Super Piranha in order to become an F-Zero champion. And let's see if we can actually help her do it. I really like her machine, by the way. Not so much in later F-Zero games. The Super Piranha actually becomes a little bit too unstable in F-Zero GX, for instance. She's very sensitive in her steering. It's already a little bit present in this game, but in this game I feel it's a little bit more balanced out. The machine also feels bigger for some reason. I have a feeling that the next 3D installment in F-Zero GX, this machine actually became a lot smaller. And therefore I like it a lot less there. But all with all, here in F-Zero X, the game we're actually playing now, so that's the one that matters. In this game I feel the machine is a lot more stable. So I'm definitely the biggest fan of the machine in this game. Not per se in F-Zero GX or GP Legend. There I think they actually remodeled the machine, not per se in a good way. But anyway, that's out of the way. Let's talk about the track. Here on Expert we should also be able to actually get a death track situation. Let's try doing it in the final lap. And I was lucky enough to actually survive that jump. Landing into the wall is never a good thing. With me far ahead of these guys, we should be able to get plenty of them off the track. Like I explained last time, the rubber banding of these guys is actually what's killing them now. They jump too far. Now let's go see how many of them actually made the finish. Even though the game says 11 right now, that does not mean that there's actually going to be 11 that finished. Okay, in this case it does. But like we noticed last time, whenever the race is over and people still start falling off, the game actually does not keep track of them anymore, but they can still fall off the track even after the race has finished. I think it was Port Town 3 where we actually came to that conclusion, but in this case it was correct. But let's see if we can actually get rid of a couple of people who did make it to the finish line last time. I'd like everybody to have retired at least once during this Grand Prix. Although that's a little bit hard to keep track of, so... Let's in that case just race normally. We're still an expert after all, so... If you start moving around a little bit too much, you can actually end up getting a second silence. And with that I don't mean the second silence, the track we're actually driving on right now. I mean losing another track, like I did on Silence 1. So far the only track on Expert I did not win. It would be nice if I'm actually able to make sure that it remains the only track I did not win on Expert. Bye! When are you people going to learn never drive next to me in the turns? I always take my turns double tapping. One more lap to go. Captain Falcon actually being in the lead. Probably the first time we've ever seen that. He is the main protagonist after all in this game. And F-Zero in general. And yet we have not seen a whole lot of him. But here was his time to shine for a moment. However, our star shines even brighter. We are a pop star and supermodel. We are going to win. Kate Allen racks up her second victory. Captain Falcon not being able to stop her. Even in his new machine, the Super Falcon. Sector Beta, double somersault. And I think it's finally time to start showing off the double tap dive. I did talk about this last time. Had a machine I did not really dare doing it with. But now it is time to actually show off one of the more advanced techniques in this game. This is pretty much the only track where I'm able to somewhat perform it. Even though even here it's not really the double tap dive as it's supposed to be. But I've never really been able to actually get that technique down. But because of the slight angled jump that you have at the end here, you can actually still perform it a little bit. So allow me to show you off what it actually entails. And warning, this is pretty difficult to perform. You want to jump off here and then double tap in the opposite direction. As you can see, this will really crank up your speed. Let's go see if you can do it 2 more times. But this is actually by far the fastest technique in the game if you're able to perform it correctly. Technically possible on every jump in the game. However, for every other jump in the game you actually need to angle yourself manually. In this jump you're actually already angled, making it a little bit easier. The whole reason why I can perform it here. But the moment you fall off the track here, you're already angled a little bit. And if you then start double tapping in the opposite direction, you can actually crank up your speed even more than regular jumping. Really difficult to perform. Especially if you start doing it on jumps that are not this one. For those jumps you actually need to hold back on the control stick first in order to angle yourself properly and then start double tapping in the opposite direction while pointing your nose down. Really difficult to perform. Something I've never been able to master other than this particular jump here on Sector Beta. But this is pretty much the story of the double tap dive. If you're able to perform this correctly, the world records for every single track in the game are open for you. Because this is even faster than the sliding strat. And especially if you start combining the two, sliding strat plus double tap dives in every single track, then you have world record material for you. However, unlike some of the pros in this game, my double tap dive experience are only limited to the sector beta. So, let's go start focusing on things I am good at, like going on a killing spree. That is something on Red Canyon 2 I can never resist. 7 stars in 1 attack. This game can be so awesome. Yeah, but there is also a jump in this track after all. Don't forget about that. If you're able to angle your control stick properly, you can also do the double tap dive here. World Record Holder actually does that. Especially in a track like this, I think it's really good if you're able to perform it. Because as you can see, there's a pretty narrow track. And it's also not a straight jump. So if you're able to actually position yourself correctly with the double tap dive here, then kudos on your skills. I can only dream of being able to perform that. Doing a regular jump towards the later section of the track is already difficult enough. Because of the track being so narrow and it also not being straight. So if you're able to double tap dive this part, then man, you are really good at this game. I am not going to even try to do that. What I am going to try to do is actually win these tracks. It looks like this is also going to be a successful one. After my jumping, even though it was not double tap dive, the regular jump was also good enough. The computer players were really far behind me, not being able to keep up with that. They are not programmed to do the jump after all. So, after the killing spree in the first lap, it is time to move on to my favorite track of the King Cup, Whiteland 2. It is interesting how this game actually has 3 Whitelands, including the expansion kit. And all 3 of the Whitelands are actually my favorite track in the cup they are in. It's interesting. My favorite track in the Queen Cup is Whiteland. My favorite track in the King Cup is Whiteland 2. And my favorite track in the DD2 Cup is Whiteland 3. All 3 of them are my favorite track in the cups they are in. One would almost think the Whiteland tracks are actually all 3 really good. The music is also really awesome. Also one of my favorite music tracks in this game. I think if you don't include the expansion kit music, I think of the regular game, this is actually my favorite music in the game. Also present in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, after all. And for good reason. And especially this expansion kit remix of it is really awesome. For the most part it's actually the same music. But just like with the Red Canyon music, there's actually a little bit section they added in the middle of the music. It's pretty difficult to hear, but if you're familiar with the Whiteland music, you can hear a little bit of a difference. Also something that got added in the expansion kit. A slight remix of the Red Canyon and the Whiteland music. Not too sure why, it's just there. But I think I've already talked about that story, so... The moment I started talking about it, it suddenly sounded familiar to me. But anyway, only one more track to go. And the regular default unlocked cups of the game are completed on expert. And then we can actually focus on finishing this game. Mute City 3. Also a pretty fun high-speed course. Oh! Screw you, Jody. Oh, screw the camera controls. What you get for using a controller that actually has a right analog stick. It's not always easy to actually just hit the C up button, if you know what I mean. Sometimes I accidentally also hit C left and C right because of it. That's the reason why I sometimes zoom out while trying to look backwards. Okay, this time around we don't have a white cat to interfere, so we can make this jump. But let's return to that story about the camera. It's something I did not really point out yet in this game, but there are indeed multiple camera options in this game. You can actually zoom out or in. And The perspective change can actually also be interesting. If you actually zoom out the camera entirely like this, yeah, you can already see the game definitely feels a lot different. Even though it controls the same, of course, but because we have a different perspective now, it immediately feels like we're playing an entirely different game. It's safe to say this is not my recommended setting to go for. I'm definitely not used to this, so just pointing out that this is something you can do. But allow me to actually not play like this. Can make it a lot more challenging, but it is not my preferred way, if it isn't obvious. Just pointing it out. Changing the camera can make this game feel completely different. So, with that out of the way, another new thing covered. I'm still surprised that after all this time, I'm still finding things to cover. But we're definitely not done yet, so hopefully there's more things to cover. This was only the King Cup on Expert. And therefore saying we have plenty of more cups to do. The Unlockable Cup and the Expansion Kit Cups. And only then we are done. Sector Beta, 1800 kilometers per hour. Double tap dive. And if you do it correctly, you can even go faster. I just did it in the light form, because I'm actually only able to do the light form. But if you do an actual double tap dive, even speeds up to 3000 kilometers per hour have been recorded by the world record holders of this game. I am, of course, not able to do that. But anyway, thank you all for watching this episode of F-Zero X. We're going to look at the victory ceremony, therefore saying the message by Kate Allen, and then we are going to close this episode. 2 cups in 1 video. This girl's got some skills. Yeah, you definitely have. Supermodel, pop star singer, and even F-Zero pilot. You know how to handle your stuff, Kate. But anyway, thank you all for watching. See you next time for the Joker Cup. Treecks out.